welcome to Pennsylvania, Mr. Vice President.
Good to be back home. I'm from Pennsylvania.
Yes, I know. Scranton, right?
Yep.
So, peace is breaking out all over the world. Our troops are coming home. Serbia is talking to Kosovo. And the Arabs and Israelis are talking peace, which I believe is a modern-day miracle, what's going on. Does President Trump's foreign policy deserve some credit?
A little, but not a whole lot. We find ourselves in a position where we're more isolated in the world than we've ever been. Our allies are our goat alone. America first has made America alone. You have Iran closer to having enough nuclear material to build a bomb. North Korea has more bombs and missiles available to it. We find ourselves where our NATO allies are publicly saying they can't count on us. We're in a situation as well where in the Far East we find ourselves in the Western Pacific where we're isolated as well. You have Japan and South Korea at odds with one another. China is making moves. So I would say we find ourselves less secure than we've been. I do compliment the president on the deal with Israel recently, if you take a look, we're not very well trusted around the world. When 17 major nations in the world were asked who they trust more, who's the better leader, and the president came in behind both the international survey, both behind Putin as well as Xi. And look what Putin's doing. You have Americans, bounties on American military's heads in Afghanistan. There have more people there now, by the way, than when we left in Afghanistan. And we find ourselves in a situation where he's talked to Putin 6 times, hadn't said a word to him. And NATO is on the risk of beginning to crack because they doubt our concern whether we're there. You see what's happening in everything from Belarus to Poland to Hungary, and the rise of totalitarian regimes in the world, and as well as this president embraces all the thugs in the world. I mean, he's best friends with the leader of North Korea, sending love letters. He doesn't take on Putin in any way, and he's learned the art of the steal from the art of the deal by Xi in China. So I would respectfully suggest, no, there is no plan, no coherent plan for foreign policy. We've always ruled. We've been most effective as a world leader, in my humble opinion, not just by the exercise of our power, we're the most powerful nation in the world, but the power of our example. That's what's led the rest of the world to follow us on almost everything. He's pulled out of almost every international organization. He gets laughed at when he goes to the, literally, not figuratively, when he goes to the United Nations. I mean, it's not about the president per se, it's about the nation and the lack of respect that's shown to us.
I want to get one more question in this segment, and it comes from Mika Hack. She's from State College, Pennsylvania. This is your first presidential election that you're voting.
It is.
Hi, Mika. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm the proud mom of 2 girls, 8 and 10. My youngest daughter is transgender. The Trump administration has attacked the rights of transgender people, banning them from military service, weakening non-discrimination protections, and even removing the word transgender from some government websites. How will you, as president, reverse this dangerous and discriminatory agenda and ensure that the lives and rights of LGBTQ people are protected under U.S. law?
I will flat out just change the law. Eliminate those executive orders, number 1. You may recall, I'm the guy who said, I was raised by a man who, I remember I was being dropped off. My dad was a high school educated, well-read man who was a really decent guy, and I was being dropped off to get an application in the center of our city, Wilmington, Delaware, the corporate capital of the world at the time. And these 2 men, I'm getting out to get an application to be a lifeguard in the African-American community because there was a big swimming pool complex. And these 2 men, well-dressed, leaned up and hugged one another and kissed one another. I'm getting out of the car at the light, and I turned to my dad. My dad looked at me and said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. The idea that an 8-year-old child or a 10-year-old child decides, you know, I decided I want to be transgender. That's what I think I'd like to be. It'll make my life a lot easier. There should be zero discrimination. And what's happening is too many transgender women of color are being murdered. They're being murdered. I mean, I think it's up to now 17. Don't hold me to that number, but it's higher now.
Yeah.
And that's just this year. And so I promise you, there is no reason to suggest that there should be any right denied your daughter or daughters, whichever, one or two, one, your daughter, that your other daughter has a right to be and do. None, zero. And by the way, my son Beau passed away, was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He was the guy who got the first transgender law passed in the state of Delaware, and because of a young man who became a woman who worked for him in the Attorney General's office.
We've got one more segment coming up. Thank you.
I'm
We'll
proud
be right
of
back.
ABC News, straightforward. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any place else. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's most watched program across all of television.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day,
where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking new information of the day to help you navigate through these times.
That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
Hello? This is Montana Highway Patrol. You're looking for a couple of missing teenagers.
That's right. Last seen in a red Focus.
The steering wheel is getting stiff.
Lock the door. We're fine.
Got ourselves a predicament.
When the night has come.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know seems to change, well, like every day. So what can help you feel smarter, better, happier? Welcome to GMA3, What You Need to Know, the third hour of Good Morning America. Lunchtime on ABC.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
On your carts. Get set. Let's go.
Get ready.
The team with the highest cart total could be leaving with $100,000.
To shop.
Bam, bam, bam.
Till you drop.
Oh, mommy down.
Leslie Jones hosts Supermarket Sweep. Premieres Sunday, October 18th on ABC.
Welcome to Disney Plus. Are you ready? Drop in and explore. The action, the adventure, and the originals. There's no limit to what you'll find. These are your worlds. So come on, dive deeper into the universes you love. Wherever and whenever you want them, you'll find them all here on Disney Plus.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you.
ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
Who was John Lennon?
Magical,
Brilliant, daring,
rebel, a working class kid from Liverpool.
John was my favorite Beatle.
If he hadn't dreamed so beautifully, it wouldn't hurt so much.
Now, Friday night, new interviews with those who were right there with John Lennon and his last interview, all on that day.
While there's life, there's hope.
The 2020 event.
Yoko said, "What I tell you now is top secret. You can't ever tell anyone."
John Lennon, his life, his legacy, his last days. Friday night on ABC. The Vice President and the People, a special edition of 2020. Here again, George Stephanopoulos.
And welcome back to our town hall with former Vice President Joe Biden. The next question comes from Keenan Wilson, Narberth, Pennsylvania, Democrat.
Good evening. You say that you committed to entering this race after the events of Charlottesville in 2017. I assume that that feeling that prompted you to run will not go away once the results are determined. So, hypothetically, if you lose, how will you use your platform to urge President Donald Trump and those rallying behind him towards the ideals of a more perfect union?
Well, to be very honest with you, I think that's very hard. He is not, things have not lent themselves to him learning from what's happened, what's gone before. And instead of being chastened by being one of the few presidents, the only president to be impeached and then have a member of his own party vote to expel him, it emboldened him. So, but what I will do, hopefully I'll go back to being a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and making the case that I've been made and at the Biden Institute at the University of Delaware, focusing on these same issues relating to what constitutes decency and honor in this country. It's the thing that got me involved in public life to begin with. As a kid, I moved from Scranton, where there were no African Americans, and moved down to Claymont, Delaware. And in Delaware, we have the 8th largest black population as a percent of population. It was an epiphany for me, seeing what was going on. And I got deeply involved. I'm no great shakes. I don't mean I wasn't John Lewis. I don't mean to imply that. But it's the thing that's motivated. My dad used to have an expression, for real. He said, everyone's entitled to be treated with dignity. Everybody. And it was real. Everybody is. And so whether I'm a defeated candidate for president back teaching or I'm elected president, it is a major element of everything that I'm about because it reflects who we are as a nation. And it's what makes us, this is every single solitary generation. The dial has moved closer and closer and more to inclusion. And we are a country that is a country of slaves who came here 400 years ago, indigenous people, and everyone else is an immigrant. And we're a diverse country. And unless we are able to treat people equally, we're just never going to meet our potential. But I think the American people want to see that happen. I think they're ready to see it happen. And I tell you one thing, if I'm elected president, you will not hear me race baiting, you'll not hear me dividing, you'll hear me trying to unify. And unify with, bring people together. When I said I was running because I wanted to unify the country, people said, well, they were the old days. We better be able to do it again.
Agreed.
We better be able to do it again.
Mr. Vice President, if you lose, what will that say to you about where America is today?
Well, it could say that I'm a lousy candidate and I didn't do a good job. But I think, I hope that it doesn't say that we are as racially, ethnically, and religiously at odds with one another as it appears the president wants us to be. Usually, you know, the president's, in my view, with all due respect, has been divide and conquer. The way he does better if he splits us. There's division. And I think people need hope. I think, look, George, I've never been more optimistic about the prospects for this country than I am today, and I really mean that. I think the people are ready, they understand what's at stake, and it's not about Democrat or Republican. If I get elected, you know, I'm running as a proud Democrat, but I'm going to be an American president. I'm going to take care of those who voted against me as well as those who voted for me, for real. That's what presidents do. We got to heal this nation because we have the greatest opportunity of any country in the world to own the 21st century, and we can't do it divided.
One more break. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Disney Plus. Are you ready? Drop in and explore. The action, the adventure, and the originals. There's no limit to what you'll find. These are your worlds. So come on, dive deeper into the universes you love. Wherever and whenever you want them, you'll find them all here on Disney Plus.
Right now, at this defining moment in America, with so much on the line.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright.
From ABC News, Turning Point, the groundbreaking special Nightline series. Taking over, taking on. This moment for America. My America, your America, our America. This is Turning Point, the special Nightline series.
We gon' be alright.
Late night on ABC.
The waters of the Outer Banks are unforgiving and full of riches for the fishermen who dare. The best of the Northern Fleet are heading south. But the locals know where the giants lie. And if you thought the waters were unforgiving, wait until the battle begins. Wicked Tuna Outer Banks. New episodes Sundays at 9 on National Geographic.
On your carts. Get set. Let's go.
Get ready.
The team with the highest card total could be leaving with $100,000.
To shop.
Bam, bam, bam.
Till you drop.
Oh, mommy down.
Leslie Jones hosts Supermarket Sweep. Premieres Sunday, October 18th on ABC.
It's being called the most consequential election of a lifetime, the most important vote. And with so much on the line, it demands the most straightforward, newsmaking, real answers, the most informed voices from all sides. The countdown is on to the vote. What will our future look like? ABC's This Week with George. It all plays out right here every Sunday.
The most consequential week yet of this hyper-political year.
Right as you get closer to casting your vote every Sunday on ABC.
Now could be a good time to have another baby.
Are you crazy? I'm in love with you. Now that I said it out loud, it does sound weird. Please stop.
You were so fine, I had to remind myself to breathe.
Let's do this.
How's your quarantine going?
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart that he did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
Tomorrow, get ready for an all-time high with all-time low. With an amazing performance for you. Tomorrow on Good Morning America's concert series, sponsored by CarMax.
And we are wrapping up our town hall with former Vice President Joe Biden. Mr. Vice President, as you know, President Trump had a town hall meeting tonight as well. During that town hall meeting, he was asked several times whether he took a COVID test the day of your last debate. You're supposed to have another debate a week from tonight. Just two quick questions. Do you expect that debate to happen? Will you demand that President Trump take a test that day and that it be negative before you debate?
Yeah, by the way, before I came up here, I took another test. I've been taking every day, the deep test, you know, the one that go in both. And because I wanted to be able, if I had not passed that test, I didn't want to come here and not, you know, expose anybody. And I just think it's just decency to be able to determine whether or not you are, you're clear. And it's not, I'm less concerned about me, but then the people, the guys at the cameras, the people working in a, you know, the Secret Service guys you drive up with, all those people. And so, yes, I believe he will do that. Look, I'm going to abide by what the commission rules call for. I was prepared to debate him remotely, which was supposed to happen, and he said he wouldn't do that, a virtual debate or town hall. He didn't want to do that. I didn't set those rules. The commission set the rules. So whatever rules they set, and I'm confident that the Cleveland Clinic is the one overseeing it. I think they're going to not let happen what happened last time. They're going to demand that it's safe.
But you expect to be there?
Oh, I expect to be there.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for your time tonight. Thanked all the questioners here. It was really terrific questions. I think you did a service to our democracy tonight. Thank you very much. I want to go back to my colleague David Muir in New York.
All right, George, thank you. So there you have it, the ABC News Town Hall with former Vice President Joe Biden. Just 19 days until the election in this country. Of course, voting already underway. More than 18 million Americans have voted. Tonight, as you heard from the vice president there was supposed to be a presidential debate. President Trump pulled out of that debate when the commission wanted a virtual debate after the COVID outbreak at the White House. Joe Biden had agreed to do that instead, then doing the town hall here with ABC. And the president, in a late move this week, agreeing to the town hall and another network, sort of split screen in America tonight. We did hear the president and the vice president get pressed on several topics tonight. The vice president in Philadelphia now talking to those voters, socially distanced in the audience, Republicans, Democrats, and some undecideds. They asked him about the pandemic, whether he'd take a vaccine if ready before year's end. He said yes if the scientists are behind it. He was asked if he would raise taxes on the wealthy and on corporate America, even in a recovery. He said yes. There was a deeply personal exchange. A young voter asking Biden why young black Americans should vote for him. He made his case. He was asked about packing the Supreme Court. And I want to bring in Mary Bruce, who is outside the Constitution Center there in Philadelphia tonight, because, Mary, you and I have been watching all week the confirmation hearing of Judge Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's pick to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Biden said tonight that it depends on how this is handled, saying Americans are already voting. He was pressed on what that meant, how this was handled. He was pressed, will he have a position on packing the court before Election Day?
David, Joe Biden tonight notably went further on this issue than he has before. He has been pressed on this repeatedly, and while he still isn't giving a clear answer on whether he would expand the court, saying he's, quote, not a fan of court packing, tonight he notably didn't rule it out, saying that he will have a clear answer on this by Election Day after the confirmation hearings for Amy Coney Barrett, saying that Americans have and voters have a right to know. But, David, of course, voting is already well underway. 19 days to go. Nearly 18 million Americans have cast their ballot. So the question tonight is, what is Joe Biden waiting for on this?
And Mary, stick with us on this. He did say he'd have a position before Election Day, and we're looking at live pictures right now, interacting with voters in that debate hall. He was the one who first agreed to doing a town hall after the debate was canceled. This campaign certainly knows that they think these are good opportunities for the vice president to make his case by interacting with American voters.
Yeah, David, here tonight we saw something that we really haven't seen very often in this campaign that has been upended by the pandemic. Joe Biden having an opportunity to interact directly with voters, answering their questions about what matters most to them as they make this choice. His campaign feels that he shines in these moments, that he does best when he is able to speak directly with voters. I know that Joe Biden misses having more of these opportunities. And I was struck tonight, when you take a step back, how much Joe Biden tonight really talked about his plans. There was a lot of deep diving that he was doing into his policy proposals going forward. This was a night largely about Joe Biden and actually, surprisingly, not a lot about his opponent. He didn't really speak that much about Donald Trump. This was a night for him, Joe Biden, to connect with voters and talk about how he would be changing their futures.
Yeah, as you rightly point out, Mary, a lot more about policy and plans moving forward than we heard from really either candidate in that first debate after the shouting match sort of erupted and really never ended as that debate played out in front of America. As the vice president continues to talk with voters there, we also know President Trump in Florida tonight pressed in his own town hall on whether he was tested for COVID the day of that first presidential debate. He's pressed a number of times on this. If he took a test on the day of that debate, he said, I probably did, but said he doesn't take a test every day. He was also asked if he was ever warned that this would be the greatest national security threat of his administration, coronavirus, which has been reported that he was warned. He said he wasn't warned, but that he knew it was a big threat. At the same time, the president said, I didn't want to panic this country. I didn't want to go out there and say everyone's going to die. Pressed on whether or not there's a middle ground, whether or not he could have leveled with the American people, he said, no, there's no middle ground. I want to bring in Rachel Scott. She's live with us from Florida tonight, where that town hall is playing out, because as we're looking at pictures from Philadelphia, we know the president tonight was pressed on that New York Times reporting on his taxes. Rachel, he was asked if he ever really did pay just $750 in federal income taxes. He was also asked about that reported debt of about $400 million, asked who does he owe that money to?
David, he was asked whether or not he owes that money to foreign entities, and he said, quote, not that I know of. The president downplayed the amount of debt that he is in. He seemingly said that it's just a tiny fraction of what he is worth. David, I was struck tonight about how much the president was on defense. The president walked into tonight's town hall, behind double digits in the polls at a time when he is under fire for his handling of the pandemic. And the president tonight spent much of his time on defense, defending his handling of not only the pandemic, issues like health care, as well as the economy. What we did not hear a lot of tonight, just 19 days out from Election Day, was the president talking about his rival, Joe Biden. And the president tonight was forced to confront key questions about his health. Whether or not he tested negative on that debate day is a lingering question. One, the president even said tonight that he could not even remember or could not even recall whether or not he was tested for coronavirus on the day of the debate. The president also tonight, David, downplaying the coronavirus, insisting that we are rounding the corner at a time when the CDC predicts that we may record 240,000 deaths just 1 week after Election Day. David?
Rachel Scott with us from Florida tonight. And Rachel, as she points out, the president being asked, was he tested on that debate night? In stark contrast to the image you're seeing in Philadelphia right now, former Vice President Joe Biden with his mask back on, telling George just a short time ago that he was tested again today, daily testing now, saying he wouldn't want to put anyone in that room at risk, and that he would follow the debate commission's rules, but expect that everyone be tested before that final presidential debate, still scheduled for next week. I want to bring in our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl, watching this split screen in America, as I mentioned, John. Very different answers in both town halls. I'm curious, John, if you saw anything tonight that really moves the needle in any significant way with Americans already voting.
There are so few Americans that are undecided at this point, David. This is such a deeply divided country. But watching these two town halls, and I tried to watch them, if you can imagine, both at the same time, quite a task. And this is such a strange campaign. We have heard very little from either of these two men about what they would actually do over the next 4 years. And Biden has famously dodged this question of expanding the Supreme Court, and George really pushed him on this, and we have what appears to be a commitment that after the Amy Coney Barrett vote, he will tell the American people. He said voters have a right to know where he stands on expanding the court. On the other side, Donald Trump was asked a very simple question by a voter: what is your plan to deal with health care and rising health care costs? And it was abundantly clear that he has absolutely no plan. This is something he has had 4 years, nearly 4 years in office to come up with. He basically said that what he has done is he's done away with the individual mandate with Obamacare, and then talked a little bit more about how Obamacare is not a good thing and we need something better, but absolutely nothing about what he would actually do on health care.
And John, as you've been reporting, he's been saying for a very long time now, I'll have that plan in a couple of weeks, and still no plan.
Still no plan.
John Karl watching both debates. We thank you. We know you were watching the ABC one in front of you while you were trying to watch the one on the other network at the same time, and we sure do appreciate that. Our analysts are standing by, of course, from both ends of the political spectrum, our powerhouse political team. Our coverage of the ABC News Town Hall continues right here in a moment.
ABC News, straightforward.
Welcome to Disney Plus. Are you ready? Drop in and explore. The action, the adventure, and the originals. There's no limit to what you'll find. These are your worlds. So come on, dive deeper into the universes you love. Wherever and whenever you want them, you'll find them all here on Disney Plus.
Who was John Lennon?
Magical, brilliant, daring, rebel, a working class kid from Liverpool.
John was my favorite Beatle.
If he hadn't dreamed so beautifully, it wouldn't hurt so much.
Now, Friday night, new interviews with those who were right there with John Lennon and his last interview, all on that day.
While there's life, there's hope.
The 2020 event.
Yoko said, what I tell you now is top secret. You can't ever tell anyone.
John Lennon, his life, his legacy, his last days. Friday night on ABC.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart they did this.
It's the time of suspicion. The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
COVID-19 was a wake-up call. There are so many more pandemics that could be just around the corner. Viruses literally travel through human populations. What we've got to do is go to those places where the virus begins its journey. Masks on? Yep.
Masks on. Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
This is the exact way in which a new virus could start.
Virus Hunters, special event, Sunday, November 1st at 9 on National Geographic.
On your carts. Get set. Let's go.
Get ready.
The team with the highest card total could be leaving with $100,000.
To shop.
Bam, bam, bam.
Till you drop.
Oh, mommy down.
Leslie Jones hosts Supermarket Sweep. Premieres Sunday, October 18th on ABC.
It's being called the most consequential election of a lifetime, the most important vote. And with so much on the line, it demands the most straightforward, newsmaking, real answers, the most informed voices from all sides. The countdown is on to the vote. What will our future look like? ABC's This Week with George. It all plays out right here every Sunday.
The most consequential week yet of this hyper-political year.
Right as you get closer to casting your vote every Sunday on ABC.
Hello? This is Montana Highway Patrol. You're looking for a couple of missing teenagers.
That's right. Last seen in a red Focus.
The steering wheel is getting stiff.
Lock the door. We're fine.
Got ourselves a predicament.
When the night has come.
Now, with so much on the line, ABC News, America's #1 news, is right there for you live on Hulu with stories of strength, stories of hope. Because now, when it matters most,
Hulu has live news.
Hulu has live news.
Hulu has live news, and that news is ABC News.
ABC News Live on Hulu.
ABC News Live on Hulu.
Watch the news you need.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Streaming to all Hulu subscribers right now. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any place else. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's most watched program across all of television.
To ABC News live coverage, the Vice President and the people, our town hall tonight, the Constitution Center there in Philadelphia. Live pictures, the Vice President still interacting with voters there, something his campaign certainly believes is a strong suit for the former Vice President. I want to get right to our roundtable, a virtual roundtable of sorts. Rahm Emanuel, ABC News contributor, of course, former mayor of Chicago. Mr. Mayor, what did you make of the Vice President's performance tonight? You saw George press him there on court packing. He said he'll have an answer for the American people before the election. That's going to make some news.
David, I would tilt the other way rather than any specific policy, and you see it right now. The incredible respect that came from him to the questionnaires. He had a dialogue and a conversation. There's a decency to them as citizens deserving the answer. That's why he's still staying behind and doing another hour. I think it reminds me of 1992 when Bill Clinton went towards a questionnaire and George Bush was looking at his watch. It was that empathy and respect that came across to the citizens, and you can even watch it still now happening. So to me, any particular issue, that's what you're pinpointing. I think what you're looking at is somebody who actually appreciates his fellow citizens, and it captures the moment this country is worried about, the kind of who we are as a country and coming together, and this is capturing. And I actually think I, like John, watched the other debate, and I would both of them simultaneously, and you got one of clarity versus I actually do think one of chaos, where the president still can't answer what his health care plan is. So to me, that's what came across, was the character of Joe Biden, and that's his main selling point beyond any issue.
Ram, thank you. You heard that. Sarah Fagan, ABC News contributor, Republican strategist. Ram making the case that it won't be any particular issue or policy that comes out of this as a headline from the former vice president. Instead, the overall picture of him interacting with voters there. Do you agree?
I think he did help himself tonight, and I agree with Ram. I mean, look, Joe Biden is a very decent person. But what I also saw tonight was the conflict he faces, the balancing act he tries to do every day as the leader of the Democratic Party. We heard it. We heard it. I don't like court packing. I do support fracking. You know, these are contrasts to things that he has on his website, the fracking issue. On the court packing, what I heard is he's probably going to do it because the base of his party is going to push him. You know, this is a tough call for voters, right? Because they like the decency of Joe Biden, but I think they know what he really represents is a much more liberal America.
But Sarah, let me ask you this. In pulling out of that second debate because they wanted it to be virtual, in President Trump's decision not to do it, was that somewhat of a gift to the Biden campaign so that they could have a town hall where they're interacting with voters in such a personal way?
Well, look, these events can be risky for candidates, but I thought Joe Biden handled himself very well. He's very, very good with people. We saw that tonight. And to some degree, the Trump campaign kind of put out early on that, there's a senility, he's old, he stumbles. And we didn't see that tonight. He was pretty composed and articulate.
All right, Sarah Fagan with us tonight as well. Sarah, thank you. I want to get right to Yvette Simpson, also an ABC News contributor, CEO of Democracy for America. Yvette, great to see you as always. What did you make of the vice president's performance tonight?
Hey, David. It's the best I've seen him. I think he did a great job, not just directly answering questions, talking about specific policies. And I think he took that very hard stance of acknowledging that he was wrong about the 1994 crime bill, which I think was a great position for him to take. So I think it was a great night for him. And I do think he's walking a tightrope, I think in part because if you're the leader of a party, you have to take everybody's opinions to bear. We have not seen that with Donald Trump. He's not listening to most Republicans or most people. And I actually do respect Joe Biden for, I think, having a broader perspective, listening to all sides, and actually being willing to adjust his own thinking to the realities of the day.
Yvette, thank you. I want to get into Matt Dowd, ABC News chief political analyst. And Matt, to Sarah's point, on a lot of those issues, Joe Biden trying to walk the line. He's trying to reach out to some of the moderate Republicans they're convinced they can get to come over to their side.
What would you say to lifelong Republicans?
Well, the best presidents and the best candidates have to always walk a line. George W. Bush, who Sarah and I both worked for, had to walk a line between many of his moderate stances and the conservative part of the party. Bill Clinton had to walk a line. The best ones do that. I think the way to judge these things is what is their imperative? What is each candidate's imperative when they approach these things and come in? As we saw 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, Joe Biden was 7 points ahead 2 weeks ago. He's now 10 points ahead. And so all Joe Biden had to do tonight to win this thing and move forward is make the voters who already are voting for him or already want to vote for him comfortable in that choice. And I think he did that. Donald Trump has a much harder one, which is persuade Biden voters to move to him.
All right. Less than 3 weeks to go. Matt Dowder, thanks to you as well. Some closing thoughts from some of my trusted teammates here at ABC in just a moment as our live coverage of the town hall with Joe Biden in Philadelphia continues right after this.
ABC News, straightforward. It's being called the most consequential election of a lifetime, the most important vote, and with so much on the line, it demands the most straightforward news-making, real answers, the most informed voices from all sides. The countdown is on to the vote. What will our future look like? ABC's This Week with George. It all plays out right here every Sunday.
The most consequential week yet of this hyper-political year.
Right as you get closer to casting your vote every Sunday on ABC. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any place else. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's most watched program across all of television.
What is necessary for Chicago is a vision, actual solutions for the issues we face.
Oh boy. All people, all voices.
One Chicago, united for all.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source, ABC News. Wow. Breaking news, live events as they happen, streaming live, non-stop, straight to you. Original, on the edge, breakthrough storytelling. From ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free. And imagine the most celebrated, epic live events and moments, all playing out right before your eyes.
See those flames behind me?
And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime. Streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you.
ABC News Live.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. So if you like getting behind the biggest news stories of the day, inside all the details, the backstory, and what will happen next, then listen to Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. It's like no other news podcast out there. Even the critics agree. Listen free on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome to Disney Plus. Are you ready? Drop in and explore. The action, the adventure, and the originals. There's no limit to what you'll find. These are your worlds. So come on, dive deeper into the universes you love. Wherever and whenever you want them, you'll find them all here on Disney Plus.
Yes, mornings may look different these days, but where you start your day,
where you spend your mornings, where you get connected to everything that's happening.
And face it, there's a whole lot happening in our world these days.
Where you get all the breaking new information of the day to help you navigate through these times.
That's why we're here.
Good morning, sunshine.
And making sure you start your day off with a smile and some sunshine.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Oh, how I love saying that.
Wake me up.
On your carts. Get set. Let's go.
Get ready.
The team with the highest card total could be leaving with $100,000.
To shop.
Bam, bam, bam.
Till you drop.
Oh, mommy down.
Leslie Jones hosts Supermarket Sweep. Premieres Sunday, October 18th on ABC.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
John Lennon, his life, his legacy, his last days.
While there's life, there's hope.
New interviews and his last interview. The new 2020 event, Friday night on ABC.
As we continue to watch that room in Philadelphia, the vice president taking questions even after the town hall. Byron Pitts of Nightline, what did you make of tonight?
David, one of the telling moments for me was that young black voter who talked about the lack of enthusiasm for Joe Biden at this point. It was an issue that hurt Hillary Clinton when she ran for president, and I believe it'll be an issue for Joe Biden. It's a gap he has to close. It isn't enough for many voters that he's not Donald Trump.
He said, I hope I answered your question to that young voter as well. Martha Raddatz, you and I have done so many debates together, but town halls are so different when you can have more of a conversation with the American voter.
Exactly right. And this is what Joe Biden loves. We'll probably all be in bed before Joe Biden is out of that hall. This was really his moment tonight. But the real test, David, will be next week. He won't get some of those friendly questions from those town hall people. He will have a combative President Trump, and you can guarantee he will be coming straight for him, David.
You've witnessed it before, being the moderator in the room. And Terry Moran, nothing is predictable about 2020. And look what we had tonight, a split screen here in America.
You know, David, Donald Trump will probably measure victory by ratings. The Trump show has been the Trump presidency, but the voters may look at it differently. It is essentially an opportunity for them to re-up the Trump show or to go with what the Biden presidency might be. And I think Joe Biden did make a case it would be a return to normalcy.
Terry, thank you. I'll be right back.